Alrighty guys, so today on this windy gray day, it wasn't gray earlier but it is now, I'm going to show y'all how I swap my fuel filter on my 2012 Ram 3500. It's a pretty quick process, but it can be kind of a pain if you don't have the right tools. So I'm going to go ahead and shut the truck off, pop the hood, and then I'll take y'all through a couple of tools that I have that help me. And for my truck, it's a 2012, so it's only a cartridge. Now if you have a fast fuel pump or like anything, I think it's 14 and newer, they have a secondary filter, water separator underneath the bed. And then I think the brand new ones swap that out for a different location, so I'm not sure about those. But this is for anything 12, 13, and back. These trucks only have one filter. And like I said, it's just a cartridge with a cap. So let's get into it. Alright, so one of the best upgrades that I did as far as fuel filters go, it's not one that I really made a big deal about because I swapped it out one day and then I just forgot about it. So your truck, if it's not as old as mine, it looks like this. All year Rams, they have a under the hood canister style fuel filter. And so down there, I swapped out my plastic cap with a billet aluminum metal cap. Pretty cool. It wasn't that expensive. Made by an American company, so you can order it off of Amazon. I think they have a few on there that are like Chinese knockoffs, but the one that I got was from an American company. So do that with what you will. Just the two biggest things are make sure that you get the correct thread, and then I'll show you what it looks like here in a second. And the one that I have, it actually uses a 28. So the tools that I keep off of hand to swap mine out, I use, like I said, a 28 right there. And then because I use a large extension, I have an adapter that goes to my half-inch. I'm sorry, yeah, my half-inch down to a 3/8, and then I have a 3/8 that goes back into a half-inch, and then I use a swivel for the bottom, and then this also is a flex head. And you don't have to use this setup, but I do just so I can make sure that I seat it down correctly. And then one of the things that you also are going to need, some kind of cone or catch can. For me, because I'm doing it in the parking lot, I just use this, and then I'm going to stick it in the bottle, and it's basically to drain out the canister so that you can actually take the cap off without making a big mess of fuel everywhere. Now the fuel that you have with this, once it leaks out of there, you can put that back in your fuel tank if you want to, but it's up to you, because it's going to go back through the system and it's going to run through the fuel filter before it goes into your engine. But that's really up to you. And then, like I said, just a screwdriver, and then I'll show you where to unscrew. And then for me, just some type of screwdriver. Can be anything, but it is a Phillips. You can use a flathead, but with what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this. I'm going to go set this up. I'll show you what that looks like, and then I'll drain it. It doesn't take that long to drain. You twist it. You don't unscrew it. You just twist it till you start seeing it leak fluid. Once it slows down, then you tighten it back up. Alright, so I set up, there's a little tube that goes underneath the canister. I literally just set it up right here. You can shove it anywhere you need to so that it doesn't fall. And then as you're looking down, you literally just put your screwdriver right in there, and then literally just turn it to the left, and then it will start leaking. As you can see, just want to let that sit there for a second. Diesel fuel is very yellow, so don't let that freak you out. So I'm going to let that sit there for a second and then show you my array of tools. So whenever I do this, I have my canister right here. These fuel filters, they're really cheap. It says made in China. Swap them out once a year, or if you go through a harsh winter. So put my adapter, and you'll kind of see the setup that I have so that it's really easy. And then I stick this at the end of that. Now it seems like a lot, but it's just so I have enough swivel. The swivel's there. And then yeah, just like that. So now we'll go check out the fuel. Alright, so it'll start slowing down here in a second. So when that's settled, try to set y'all up a little bit better. See that right there? That's what the swivel's for. And then you can just stick the rest of it in. And yeah. So I'm gonna go double check the fuel. One more time. Alright, so it's about leveled off. So that's about how much fuel your canister holds. And now it's just gonna drip. And now you know you're ready to take your cap off. Now, one thing I'll say, bring along like paper towels and some soap so that you can wash around the outside of the canister, so that when you open that up, some of that fuel is not gonna come out all the way. So I just have a little mix of solution. It's just soap, just to give me something wet so that I can wipe up all the dirt and make sure that nothing gets in there and then contaminates it, because the fuel filter filters out your fuel, and if any of those little particles get inside, you could possibly damage an injector, because those little injectors, they're really expensive, and they have really fine nozzles because they have to shoot out at like 10,000 all the way up to 20-30,000 psi, depending on, you know, your build, or like if it's a stock truck, or even the bigger trucks shoot out at a little bit higher. 10 to 30,000 psi, you want to make sure you don't interrupt that with some debris. So like I said before I swap it and everything. All right, so you see that? All of that was sitting on top of the housing, and you have all this other dirt and debris up here. So after you open it up, you don't want to leave it open too long. Literally, that's why I have the swivel. And then I'm going to break this loose. So you only need that tool to break it loose, just enough to where you can undo it with your hand. So before I take it all the way off, I usually try to get the tool out of there, and now I can unscrew it with my hand. And then it just pops off like that. And it's going to have a little bit of fuel. Just flip it over, set it somewhere it's not going to get dirty. And then there's your canister. it just pops out. Yeah, it's been about a year. So usually the service life for these filters is just about a year. So I usually, whenever I buy one, put that on something. Whenever I buy one, I try to buy another one. Let's set it out there so it's not in the truck. So there's that, and it comes with a little, there's a little ring that stays on the housing. And then we'll open this up. Yeah, so this ring right here, you want to make sure that you put a little bit of lubricant, oil, petroleum, something to seal it, and it actually sits. It sits on the bottom of that, and it acts as a seal. All right, so this little band right here, you want to make sure that you keep it clean. And then I always keep a little bit of petroleum jelly. This stuff. Just for any. And literally all I do is just lubricate it. Now you can use oil. You can use oil or transmission fluid, as long as there's no contaminants in it. You just don't want this dry in there, because then it'll dry rot. And then the last thing you want to make sure is when you seat it, that you seated it properly, because there is a way to make it go all the way down. That shape matches that shape. Try to get you a decent view. Pretty straightforward. Then you're good to go again. Now I'm going to slap this cap back on. There is a little bit of fuel on it. I'm going to slide it on there and then retighten it, and we'll be good to go. Alright, and just like that, she's all back together. All you have to do is tighten it down until it stops turning. I'm not saying you over torque it or anything, because as the engine builds pressure, as that builds pressure, it'll tighten on its own. But you want to seat it all the way down to where that little gasket on that little O-ring is not popping out. And then after that, go back down to the set screw, or to the drain screw. Just tighten it up, and you're all done. Yeah, so it's pretty simple. I'm going to clean up the engine bay, and then I'll show you turning on the truck, because you can't just turn it back on and then get going again. So I'm going to clean up real quick. Sorry, it's kind of windy. And then yeah, we'll show you how to turn it, prime it, and then you should be good to go. Okay, so the last thing you want to do, leave your hood open, and then you want to prime it. Okay, so if you have a FASS, this part will be easier, because the FASS will, as soon as you turn the key, it'll start building pressure. But if you just have just a standard, cartridge, you turn the key once, turn it off, turn the key again, turn the key off, turn it again. I usually do it about 3 to 5 times. And then if you want to, at this point, you can go underneath your truck and visually check for leaks. Anywhere that you opened up, you can visually check for leaks if you want to, because that little canister in the cartridge that it goes in, it actually builds up a decent amount of pressure. And so if you are leaking, Now's the time to check it before you start the engine. Just show you real quick. So it's clean because I cleaned it, but I'm not visually seeing any leaks outside of some of the residue. Otherwise, fuel would be pouring on the floor underneath it. No visual leaks. Otherwise, it'd be coming right there on top of your axle. See, there's a drop right there. But that's all whenever you open up your fuel filter. Fuel filter. All right, so now we can let it focus. All right, let it go for a second. Turn it off. And you're gonna feel like you did something wrong. But all you're doing is building pressure. Like I said, if you don't have a fast or high flow fuel pump, then it'll take a minute for that canister to fill up before there's enough pressure to shoot into your injectors. And you don't want to kill your starter. That's the biggest thing. You don't want to just leave it going. And if you want to again, go back and check for anything. Nothing's spewing out, nothing's leaking. So no, it's like waiting for a hammer to drop, you know? Like you did something wrong, but every single time I've done my fuel filter, this is exactly what I go through. Go back. Still not leaking. So like I said, it takes a couple times. Like I said, 3 to 5 times, and then you might have to restart it like this for 3 to 5 times. But no editing. Primed it 3 times, let it crank over 3 to 4 times, and then it turned on. So 4 minutes total after you're done sealing everything back up, putting your tools away. I let it run for a minute, listen for any leaks, and here at this point too, you can go and double check again. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. Now what I do just before I take off, just in the nick of time too, it started raining. I'll turn it off one more time. And there we go. So it's starting to rain. I'm gonna close her up, and then we'll call it here. God bless. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and share this with a friend if they're scared to do some of their own maintenance. I'm gonna have a few more videos like this where we go through and do all the intervals. The first one, this is the first filter that I've swapped out in about a year. For me, I make a checklist on my phone just so I can keep up to date with it. So I just did the oil maybe 5,000 miles ago, if that. Maybe, I think it was less, might have been 25 to 3,000 miles. I wrote it down somewhere. But so all that's fresh. The next one coming up is going to be the transmission fluid. So if you've never done your own transmission fluid change, it's kind of messy, but after the first time you do it, you're going to want to go with an aftermarket pan, and then we'll get into that later. But hope you enjoyed. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and thank you for watching.